Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Heather Lewis. A few things have changed since the last video. You can see we are back in the garage. I know there were some hiccups in the last video where I had to move downstairs, but now the garage should be good. During the past week, I was trying to figure out how to heat this garage, and I think I figured out the solution, but it definitely has been pretty tricky. Let me show you guys what I've done. So as of now, I have 3 heaters. One is infrared, and then the other ones are just like thermal heat. But this brown sun heat heater was quite the pretty penny, but it's definitely working so well. This one is keeping the majority of the heat in the garage, and then the other 2 are just also working as well. So at this point, I think we all know that paint cannot go below a certain temperature. Otherwise it kind of screws up the paint and it's just a whole mess. But I wasn't really certain on what exact temperatures it should and should not go to, so I did search that up, and for most paints it's between 50 to 90 degrees that is safe to paint in, and anything lower or higher is kind of harmful for the paint, and the paint just won't work to its full potential. So right now with these heaters on, I've had them on for quite a few hours, and it is about 48 degrees here in the garage and the heat is still climbing, so I think we will be good on that. I am a little concerned about how much it's going to cost to heat this garage, because I'm assuming I'm gonna have to have these heaters on pretty much 24/7, since it does take around 30 days for paint to fully cure. So that's kind of a problem, but it's definitely trial and error, and we'll just have to see how it goes. But for now, this is my solution to heating the garage. If it's getting colder where you guys are at right now and you're struggling to figure out what to do with your garage and how to work in the cold temperatures, I suggest you getting some heaters like mine. That sun heat heater is a little more on the expensive side, but it really does heat up the garage. And actually, I'll leave some links down below of some heaters that you guys can check out from Amazon, so that if you are trying to find a solution to heat your garage, this may work for you. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys that I did over the weekend is I actually cleaned up the workbench and I put all my tools away. Since I've moved here, a lot of my stuff has still been in boxes, and it just wasn't helping with the clutter in the garage. We've actually really cleared out the garage space. Clearly there's still some things since it's a shared space between the family. I did get my workbench all put together and it's looking so much cleaner, so I wanted to show you guys that before we get started on our piece. So I have this board all set up with a lot of my tools that are on it. My dad actually made this workbench, and I'm kind of taking over while I'm here since he doesn't do a lot of stuff in the garage anyways. But I've got all my clamps up here. I've got some other drill bits, nails, screws, stuff like that. Some more tools that I don't use as often, which is awesome there. It's pretty cool because my dad has all of this garage storage space, but like I said, he doesn't do much in the garage, so it's really fun for me to be able to store it. And then in addition, I just have my sanders. Some people don't believe that I actually have a circular sander. I do. Just wanted to show you that while it was right there. And then I've got my palm sander, and my dad actually had these as well, but again, he wasn't using them. So I've got all my extra nails and screws in here, my sandpaper, and then I've got some extra hardware that I think I will eventually use, just haven't yet. Me and Avery did this over the weekend, and I'm so happy with how it's turned out. I know where everything is easily accessible. I think this will make working here a lot easier and make it feel a lot more like my own. But otherwise, we're gonna get started on this makeover now, so make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you aren't yet, and let's get going. So this is the 8-drawer dresser that I got from the Salvation Army in a neighboring city. It has 2 long top drawers and then 6 more square drawers on the bottom. Unfortunately, this piece is not solid wood and it does have a lot of MDF parts to it, but it is structurally sound. I did get this piece for $49.99, so it was kind of expensive, but this was the best that I had found that day, so I took it home with me. Regardless, I think that it's gonna look great with a makeover. I did already take off the hardware because Avery pre-drilled in the holes for me. If you've watched some of my videos, you probably know what hardware I'm going to be doing based off of what I just said, but if not, you'll see that later on. So typically I would start with the hardware, but since that's already off, let's go ahead and get ready to sand. So I know I just said that I was going to be starting with sanding, but I actually forgot that I have plans to fill in the old hardware holes and the 2 lines that these 2 top drawers have. I think it'll look a lot more modern. So I am going to be using my Dry Deck spackling. This stuff is really nice because it'll go on pink, and then when it's ready and dry, it'll be white. That's what I know to sand it off. Typically, I only do kind of 1 round of this, but I'm thinking I'm going to need 2 or maybe even 3 for these lines on these top drawers, and then probably just 1 for the hardware holes. Okay, so it's been about an hour or so, and most of the wood filler or dry deck spackling is dry. All of the smaller drawers are dry and ready to be sanded. The 2 longer drawers are gonna need some more time, so I'm gonna set that aside and come back to it later. But I'd like to get going on sanding on the body and the rest of the drawers. So for sanding, I am going to be using my DeWalt palm sander, and also always put on a respirator anytime that you guys are sanding. So important to keep your lungs safe. I am just going to be using a medium grit here. I want to make sure to be really careful with this dresser because unfortunately it is not a solid wood piece, and the top as well as the sides are only a veneer, and underneath that veneer sticker is just MDF, and that stuff, if I sand down to that, this project will practically be over. So I need to be really careful and take my time and go really slow on the body of the dresser. And that's why I'm using a 220. Now, as far as the drawers are solid wood, so I should be fine on those. I wanna make sure to not only get the wood filler off, but also give everything a complete scuff sand so that it is ready for primer, paint, and so on. Alright, now that I've finished sanding, there is a lot of dust everywhere, not only from the spackling, but also just all the stuff the sander had picked up. So now I'm gonna go ahead, I have my white bucket here, I have warm water and Dawn dish soap in it, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean the pieces down. You wanna make sure that there's no grime, dirt, residue, any dust left behind before any primer and paint goes on. So it's so important to do this step. All right, so I let that dry for a little bit so that all the surfaces are nice and dry so that I can get started on priming. I am going to be using the Zinsser 123 primer. This is a great adhesion primer. Now, if I was looking for something that was going to be stain blocking, I would use something like Kills primer. That's a really good primer, but if all I need is adhesion this time, the Zinsser 123 primer is one of the best in my opinion. It's also very affordable, so anytime that you're using a product like primer, paint, top coat, make sure to go ahead and stir it up really well so that all the product is mixed together. Some product likes to stick at the bottom of the container, and some of that stuff that sticks at the bottom is some of the most important products, so make sure you go ahead and stir that up. I'm going to be priming this piece so that it's ready for paint, but not only that, I'm doing something I haven't done for a while, which is painting this dresser white. And because my primer is white, it's really gonna help when I start putting the white coats of paint on, and hopefully it'll minimize the amount of white coats of paint that I'm gonna have to do, because sometimes it's hard to go from a dark color like this current dresser to a really light color. So at this point, it's actually a few days later. The primer is all nice and dry. It dried pretty even and level, which is one thing I really love about this primer. So at this point, it is now time to paint. One thing that I haven't done for quite a while is paint something white, and I'm really missing my original style and my original roots, I guess you could say. So today we are gonna go back and paint this dresser white. Recently, I've been hearing a lot that white is kind of going out of style, and I'm not so sure I agree with that. And for that reason, I think this piece is going to be that tester piece to see if that's really true. Make sure to comment down below and tell me what you guys think. Do you guys think that white is going out of style or not? Honestly, I really don't think white will ever go out of style. It's just such a clean, neutral color that I don't see why it ever would, but I could be wrong. So you guys know that I love my discounted paint, and I did just recently find this discounted paint from Sherwin-Williams. It was only $9, and I've heard really good things about this showcase paint, so we're gonna go ahead and give it a try. If you end up liking this color or want to try it out, here is all the information. You can go ahead and screenshot that or save that in any way that you like so that you can try this color out for yourself. So now that there's full coverage on this dresser, it took quite a few coats of white, but it usually always does. This piece needs to be top coated. I am going to be using polyacrylic top coat. I just put it into this container and I got a very little can of it because typically I'll go with matte, but this time I wanted to try a satin finish. I've got it in this container because I am going to take my bag that has the paint on it and mix the paint that's on this brush. This doesn't seem like that much top coat, but a little goes a long way. And if I need more, I can always just put more in later. But otherwise, let's go ahead and get this top coat on.
so true. You drive me crazy like no one else. The final moment before I lose myself. And it's no use working now.